As Iran grapples with the aftermath of U.S. and Israeli airstrikes, its regional position is also being reevaluated. One area feeling the ripple effects is the South Caucasus, a region where decades-long power balances were already shifting. To better understand these broader changes, joining me now from Monterey, California, is Brenda Shaffer, an international energy and foreign policy analyst at the Naval Postgraduate School. And from Baku, Farid Shafiyev, Chairperson of the Center for Analysis of International Relations. Thanks for joining me, both of you. Brenda, I want to start with you. A lot's happened over the past 2 weeks. How is this impacting the South Caucasus? Is it impacting it?
So first thing, the big winner of the 12-day war and developments in the Middle East over the past 6 months is Türkiye. Unquestionably now in the Middle East, there's only two powers that are left standing. That's Türkiye and Israel. And some of the regional changes that come out of that, that's also for Syria. If before the 12-day war, there was a question if Iran would regain ability to influence political events in Syria, to destabilize the new regime. Now it's clear after the 12-day war that Iran cannot come back to meddling in Syria, and that the government in Syria is much stronger. Same is true in terms of Iraq, where pro-Iranian militias and forces have been weakened, and Türkiye, we've seen over the past 2 years, is getting stronger and stronger in Iraq, and this process will only continue. The same is true for the South Caucasus, that this war shifts the balance even further in favor of Türkiye in the region versus Iran. And I think one of the big issues that we'll see that will be influenced by this is the prospects of the Zenazor corridor, which would lead Türkiye all the way through Azerbaijan, across the Caspian, through Central Asia, basically uniting the main pillars of the Turkic states. And up until now, Iran has been able to prevent the Zenazor corridor from being realized. Now it seems after this war, the balance of power is shifted in the direct, again, strengthening Türkiye's hand, and therefore the prospects for the Zenazor corridor.
Farid, Brenda is saying that Turkey and Israel are the two major powers that have come out of this 2-week war. They're both Baku's allies. Is Azerbaijan feeling like, hey, the results of these last 2 weeks are in our favor and we're now stronger, so are our allies?
I think this development began a bit earlier, but generally I agree with Brenda Shaffer. The results of the Second Karabakh War, when Azerbaijan liberated its territories and reshaped the whole regional landscape, that's where the Azerbaijani-Turkish alliance got stronger. And in the context of what's happening in the Middle East and the strikes, definitely Azerbaijan feels even stronger in the South Caucasus. You know, if you look at the relationship between Iran and the countries on the South Caucasus, it's interesting, despite the so-called the phraseology or narrative of Islamic unity, the strongest alliance in the South Caucasus between Iran and Armenia. So it's been with the Christian country. It once again signifies the geopolitical realignment in the Middle East, and that realignment sometimes not along religious alliance. It has more historical reasons. So generally, I agree that Azerbaijan became stronger for the past 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, you said that Azerbaijan's hand is strengthened regarding forming the Zenazor corridor. How is that?
Well, I believe it's Türkiye and Azerbaijan hands which are, working together on this, and both will benefit. And in fact, almost ironically, Armenia would be a huge beneficiary of the Zenazor corridor. It's probably one of the most of the landlocked countries of the Caucasus and Central Asia. It's probably one of the most disadvantaged. And the Zenazor could also help Armenia, but up until now, again, partially because of its strong alliance with Iran, has not gone forward forward with the Zenazor corridor. But again, I think Iran's ability to undermine this, to weaken this, has been greatly hurt over the past 6 months, and especially since the 12-day war, and it won't have the ability. You're already seeing Armenia looking to, we had the visit of the Prime Minister of Armenia in Türkiye. In Armenia, they realize that their strongest allied partner, Iran, has been greatly weakened, and they're looking for also new relationships. And probably part of it would be to end some of its opposition to the Zenazor corridor.
Farid, when the Aliyev administration was watching what's happening over the past 2 weeks on its southern border, what type of security challenges do you think they identified where they're like, oh, this could be a future problem? And also, how do you see the relationship between Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis living in Iran, especially in the northern part?
Yeah, regarding the first part of the question, definitely those events happening at the southern border, not far from Azerbaijan, not far from the South Caucasus, and there are several ramifications and implications could have happened. For example, there are more refugees, or let's say radiation leak. So it was some worrisome development. But at the end of the day, the situation was, the outcome was not so dramatic in terms of the ramifications for the South Caucasus. Regarding the alliances, and again, I would like to underline that the Turkish-Azerbaijani alliance became stronger before the latest event, and Azerbaijan generally officially remained neutral to Israeli-Iranian conflict. But definitely, again, I would like to conclude that Azerbaijan feels itself stronger. Azerbaijan favors diplomatic solutions because, after what happened, still, I think, will be some diplomatic road to resolve the outstanding issues related to the Iranian's nuclear program and some other issues deriving from that.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, before I move on to you, I just want to ask Farid one more quick question. How did Baku view Pashinyan's visit to Türkiye? Because it was a historic visit.
Well, we believe that the conflict is over, and we will be working towards peace. I mean, we agreed on the text of the peace treaty. However, there are still some issues related to territorial claims in Armenian constitution. So once those issues resolved, of course, we would like to see peace and cooperation in the region, including between Turkey and Armenia. But again, provided that the first issues are resolved between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, the Azerbaijani-Israeli relationship, it's been blossoming over the past decade. How do you see that moving forward after this 14-day conflict? Will it grow stronger or will it remain the same?
Right. So first, if I may, just to your question to Farid about the relationship between Iran and Azerbaijanis of Iran, I think there was a very important development during the 12-day war, when actually the bulk of Israel's initial strikes in Iran were in and around Tabriz. It was almost disproportionate. Tabriz is the center of the Azerbaijani Turks in Iran, and there was a little bit of kind of perplexity because Azerbaijanis in Iran tend to be quite pro-Israel because of Israel's strong relationship with the Republic of Azerbaijan and Israel's support for the Republic of Azerbaijan during the 2020 war. And there was kind of this perplexity, and then there were some statements, the Azerbaijani press, that they had appealed to President Aliyev of Azerbaijan, to ask for them to be protected. And you saw immediately, this was a big historic change because generally Azerbaijan, the Republic of Azerbaijan, is very careful to, it represents the Azerbaijanis of the Republic of Azerbaijan and not necessarily the diaspora communities, which should be loyal citizens of the countries they live in. But here there was this recognition that because of the close relationship between Azerbaijan and Israel, Azerbaijan had leverage that could be helpful for the Azerbaijanis in Iran. So I was watching, it was interesting, social media from the provinces, even when Iran took down the central internet, from the provinces, whether it was Arabs in Khuzestan, whether it was Baluch in Sistan, Baluchistan, Azerbaijanis in East Azerbaijan and West Azerbaijan in Ardebil provinces, you could see a lot more posts from this area, because I think they often use internet from neighboring countries and not just the Iranian internet. And you could see almost a shift once there was this concern of the Republic of Azerbaijan for their safety, the supposed, leverage with Israel, to understand that these strikes will only be on military targets and not civilian targets. So I think that's a very big shift. In terms of the bilateral relationships between Azerbaijan and Israel, I don't think this war will change anything, their long-term strategic relationship. But I think something that's important for the general audience to know that it's often attributed that the tense relationships or conflictual long-term relationships between Iran and the Republic of Azerbaijan are connected to Azerbaijan's strong cooperation with Israel. And it's actually not true. Iran's intervention on behalf of Armenia in the Karabakh conflict already started in 1991, long before, even before the independence of Azerbaijan, even before there was any, sort of diplomatic ties even between Azerbaijan and Israel. Iran was very explicit and clear that it was going to support Armenia in the war because it feared nationalism, patriotism affecting Azerbaijanis in Iran. And so Iran was Armenia's lifeline during the 1992 to 1994 war. And the 2020 war, Iranian forces, military, and IRGC even intervened, cut Jibrail and Zengilan provinces, and cut the Azerbaijani military forces in half, caused deaths of even Azerbaijani soldiers. So this support of Iran for Armenia predated the relationship and any significant cooperation between Azerbaijan and Israel.
Farid, I had an Iranian guest on just before you guys, and I asked him about the ceasefire, if he expected it to hold, and he said, we view it as a pause. It's probably not going to hold. This was round one. If there's going to be continued fighting, you touched on migration before. What type of irregular migration concerns are there? And what would be Azerbaijan's red lines in a new round of fighting?
Well, again, I would like to stress that Azerbaijan remained neutral. Azerbaijan pledged that it won't allow its airspace for the use of third countries. But ramification sometimes, unexpected from such type of conflict. It's not only about Azerbaijan, about any neighboring country, Iraq, Armenia, maybe Afghanistan, Pakistan, all neighboring countries with Iran, which might receive some of the people, refugees. But I think my sense that any new potential conflict will be, again, limited and targeted to certain installations. So I would like to hope that won't be any big new war in the region.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, Farid, thanks for sharing your views with me. We're out of time. And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Yusuf Aram. If you got any comments, please share them with us on X at Straight Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find more exclusive content. Until next time, take care and goodbye.